Much everyone for joining us today. We have very exciting topic, very hot topic nowadays, why Grenada is the best choice for citizenship for investment. And we have three amazing speakers. We have Lydia Scott representing LS Legal Solicitors, and we have our fantastic partners from Grenada, Heather and Esther. The speakers, the floor is yours. Please tell us more about you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Heather Bain, and I'm very grateful that you were able to join us today. So I represent ATB Global, which is a company that I founded a few years ago to offer citizenship investment option for clients interested in second citizenship for more access to travel freedom. As a Canadian and Grenadian myself, I appreciate and understand the value of having another passport. Plus, I am based in Grenada, which I believe gives us our clients a true and honest approach to this type of investment, since we are on the ground and know most of the developers and CBI unit members personally. So that's just a little bit about what I do, and Esther could probably go on about what she does.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. Thank you very much for joining us today. So my name is Esther Nayak-Alexis, and I am the Chief Executive Officer of Grenada Investment Partners. I'm an approved and authorized local agent for the Grenada Citizenship by Investment Program, and I'm also based in Grenada. Grenada Investment Partners has been in operation since 2018, and we have successfully processed applications from all over the world. As a dual citizen myself, I understand the importance of second citizenship and therefore can provide tailored services to meet our clients' needs. So that's just a little bit about us.
Hi, everybody. My name is Lydia Scott. I'm a managing partner of LS Legal Solicitors. We are a leading immigration law firm in the United Kingdom, assisting the clients to move to the UK. We've also successfully assisted some of our clients in relation to global immigration, and we would be happy to continue our legal assistance, not just in the UK, but in UAE. We work closely with the partners and constantly looking for better options for our clients to obtain second or third citizenship. And therefore, today we want to open the door into the new citizenship in Grenada. Well, not so new, but the opportunity that it brings with. And I think today our aim is to go through some of the questions that most of our clients are asking, and also to tell a little bit about ourselves, what we do, what we operate. Except legal work, we also can provide accountancy work and business concierge services. So I think without further ado, let's just talk about all that we can offer to our clients. We will circulate our brochure about the information, what we provide exactly, and I think during the way of the webinar, we also can talk more about what we can offer and to go through the assistance. My question to the ladies, since you enjoying living in Grenada and enjoying the weather, and maybe you can tell us, so why do we have to come here? Why do we have to get a second or third citizenship with you guys? And also what's so special about the investment opportunities?
So Grenada is a very special place to me, as I spent more than half of my life here, having moved from Canada at a very early age with my parents. It is located in the Caribbean, which means we enjoy warm, comfortable weather year-round, and it is one of the safest places to live. I think the safety aspect is it's huge for people looking to invest nowadays, and Grenada is just that place. We have very little crime, and our people, we can walk around freely and not have to worry. There are many different communities that live here. among us. So we have Indians from India. We also have Caribbean Indians that live here. We have different groups of Chinese people, Italians, Africans, Germans, Americans, and British people, just to name a few. So although you think Caribbean, sometimes you think it's just one type of community that's here, that's not really true. A lot of people do come over to these parts just for whether if it's the weather or for just, you know, it's a more relaxed lifestyle. It's an attractive place to be, less stressed than many of the other places in the world. These different communities add to the diversity of the island, and we have high acceptance of other cultures. I would say investors are attracted to Grenada because our passport offers visa-free travel to over 145 countries. And we do have access to the USA E2 visa. That's another big draw for people who are looking into these programs, whereas the other Caribbean programs do not offer that. This puts Grenada's program more, it's our competitive edge, really. Another draw here is that we have St. George's University, which has a medical program and a veterinary program, as well as arts and sciences. So we do enjoy a number of students that come over from the US, from Canada, from Africa, from India. Like there are just so many Chinese that come here for this program. And another advantage for them is that after they've been resident for over a year in Grenada as a like once they become Grenadians, then they are able to get a scholarship here and be treated as a Grenadian too. So it can give them a break in their fees. So we do find that a number of people are interested in that too. So perhaps Esther can continue a little bit on what you think are your advantages in your experience.
Yeah, definitely. As Heather mentioned, the E2 visa is definitely one of the attractions. Definitely the visa-free access to the different countries. We even have visa-free access to Russia. So, and also to the Schengen area in Europe. So that's quite attractive to some clients when they're doing business or various, you know, it's ease of travel and having to apply for visas. And of course, we've had few people that would have obtained second citizenship and came to actually move and live here. And that's another thing that a lot of people sometimes want to do. And, you know, we've had people settle here. So that's another attraction to having a second citizenship as well.
Okay, very interesting. What about Schengen areas? As you mentioned, it's a visa-free areas. Is that 3 months at one stay? What is the restriction to come and visit Europe?
It's 6 months at one stay. So they would be allowed to stay for 6 months, and then they would have to leave and possibly return again, or they can then apply for, you know, other visas to if they wanted to stay in the Schengen area for longer.
Okay, is that just the Schengen area, or there are other European countries that's added? Can they travel to Switzerland?
They can. I would have to check the list, but I believe they can travel to Switzerland. I believe that's one of them on the list.
Oh, very interesting. What about just the program itself? I think just an overview, I would say, the investment program that you have, how long does it take? How much does it cost? And I think that our typical client is husband and wife and 2 children. So I know that in some, when you make an application to all the programs and for other citizenship, the difference in age of dependent children is different. So what is your 18-year-old children, 21, 25? Just an overview. I don't think we want to go into too much detail, but just to get a feel of the program, how easy it is, how great it is, and it's not expensive. I think that would be a perfect combination for our clients.
Okay, so Clients can choose between the donation option through a government fund, or they can invest in an approved real estate project. If they, after consulting with us, we'll give them all the different details and options so that they can make the best choice for themselves, right? People do choose for different reasons, and so we try to understand exactly what they're looking for and then make recommendations. Once they've decided which option they choose, the process will then involve us working very closely with them to help them get all their required information, because we do have a list that they need to provide, such as they'll need to provide, gather their IDs, police records, bank statements, and then we'll help them fill out the forms, and we give them assistance through that entire process so that we can ensure that their application has the best chance of success. Because after that, then it goes through a review and very strict due diligence. So after that has happened, we then submit the file to the CBI unit, Citizenship by Investment Unit. This is where Esther will take over the process, and she'll collect the fees. There's submission fees. We'll get into that in a minute. And then that process, once it's submitted, it would take about 3 to 4 months for them to be reviewed. And if the unit has any questions based on information given, then they will revert to Esther, and then we will go back to the client if they need more information. And so we really do try to advise our clients to just explain everything, be very open, because everything does come up in the due diligence process, and so we don't want to have any delays. So if they just give all their information clearly and accurately, then it does minimize the delay. Like I said, it takes about 3 to 4 months for that, and then we'll get a notification from the unit that the application has been approved, after which they do then submit the investment amount. So they'll have about 30 days in which they need to submit that amount. And at that stage, that's when the citizenship certificate and the passports are issued, and then we send it out by courier to them. There's no need for them to come to the island to do any of this. They can submit everything to us. We send everything in, and they then get their passports. There's no requirement for them to be on island. After 5 years of having the citizenship, or just before the expiry of that, then they'll renew the passport, and they do have it for life. They can pass it on if they had no children during the process of application, and then they have children, then they can apply for their children to become citizens. So it can include siblings, unmarried siblings that have no children. They can also apply. Parents, grandparents that are dependents can apply. As you mentioned, with children, the age is under 17, then they can apply with the parents. If they're over 17, they can apply to up to 30, and they will have to then just get the due diligence to be conducted on them. Once they're over 30, then they would have to apply for themselves as a main applicant. So I would say that the range, the fees, if they're investing under the donation option, depending on the composition of the family, it could be between $240,000 US to $250,000. So that includes the government contribution of $200,000 plus the additional fees according to the family composition. If they were investing under the real estate option, I would say that can go from about $330,000 to about $340,000. It depends, again, on the composition of the family. What some of the real estate developers will do is, in order to make their offer attractive, they will offer various returns on the investment, or some will offer a form of a buyback, or then some will try to assist with a bit of the funding of it. So that's where our expertise will come in. We will make recommendations to the clients as to which ones we feel might be best suited to their needs. So that's
in relation to the investment. Would they need to hold the investment for 5 years?
Yeah. Yes, that's correct. They will have to hold it for 5 years. And then after that, depending on the type of agreement they've signed with the developer, they can either choose to sell it, or the developer will buy them back. Or they can keep holding onto it. Again, like I said, it depends on the agreement. They can hold onto it and continue to enjoy returns if they choose.
Okay. Interesting.
Esther, do you have anything
And
to add?
with the procedure itself, the documents that the clients would need to provide, would they need to be original or certified with apostille, or how does it work, the package?
Yeah, well, Esther, you can speak of that if you wish.
Yes, so for documents where they would need original copies, so for example, the passports, ID cards, birth certificates, education certificates, those type of documents, the client would not want to give their originals to anyone because they need them. So the unit would require a certified copy, and any document that is a certified copy, they would have to be apostilled. If the country is party to the Hague Convention, then it would have to be apostilled. If the country is not party to the Hague Convention, then it would just need to be authorized, for example, by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So they would need the original documents, original certified copies, for example, but that would be usually towards the end of the process. So we submit everything electronically, we receive an approval letter, and then we ask the clients to send their original documents to us.
Some clients do experience a bit of difficulties in getting their documents certified. So we do have a service right now where if they want to do it by Zoom, we can have our notaries down here be able to just go through, they just show the document on the screen, we go through it, and then the notary here will then print it out and then stamp it as notarized, and we can submit those. So that tends to help some of the clients and makes it a little easier for them. So that's an option if you choose.
Okay, brilliant. That's something that we can assist with. We can certify the documents and get them apostilled, and then we can have them couriered to you. I must say I worked with some of the partners in different Caribbean countries, and a little bit familiar with the citizenship. And because I've moved to the UK myself from Ukraine more than 20 years ago, I try to encourage all my clients to obtain a second or third citizenship. And when they ask me why, because I mean, if we're working on the citizenship in the United Kingdom, some of them are puzzled. Why would you sell somebody else's jurisdiction or services or citizenship? And I always say that if you have an additional passport or citizenship, you give your children a choice.
Yeah.
In the future. So if there is a possibility for the family to obtain a second passport, that will always help you. I've never met any families that never used the second passport or third. And I think if we look back on everything what happened with COVID, for example, there have been different restrictions, different countries and different allowances to those ones that got certain citizenships and passports. If we even look deeper about the protection of the government, sometimes your own government may not necessarily always help you and assist you while you're abroad, but the government of the second passport that you have might be just the way forward, and the government that will help, whether to move you in emergencies or to assist you medically, or just to be there as a second point of contact. Most of the clients that I talk to that considering whether they should obtain second citizenship or not, they always want for get a second citizenship.
That's actually an interesting point, Lilia, because I recently had a client that he had Canadian citizenship, just like myself, and he contacted me to be able to get his passport, which, you know, sometimes you wonder, well, according to your citizenship, why do you want the Grenada passport? And his reason was because he wants to travel to certain countries, and because of perhaps Canada's relation with some of the countries, he felt that if he went in as a Grenadian, then he's under the radar. He's not, you know, nobody really cares, not to knock us, but nobody really cares about a Grenadian citizen as opposed to, say, somebody from Canada that could be targeting. So he felt from a safety aspect, by going in as a Grenadian, we don't have any trouble with anybody in the world, that it would be easy for him and safe for his family. So I thought that was a really interesting reason. And I think more and more people might start thinking that way too, given the way the world is going.
Of course, plus the Grenadian citizenship opens the door to many other countries, and sometimes you need to travel urgently. You just simply don't have time to apply for a Schengen visa or any other type of visa, or maybe you're in the process of renewing your own passport, then you're stuck. So it just gives you more options, more opportunities, even with the business and the protection itself. So I think overall is it's a very interesting program, and it was one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you today and just find out more how it works, because also quite often some of my clients, they're choosing whether they staying in Europe or they moving to the US, and I understand there is a special kind of relationship with the US and was in particular with E2 visa. So can I find out more about that, please?
Yeah, well, the E2 visa is something that it's a treaty that was signed between Grenada and the US. And so after as a Grenadian citizen, we can apply for this visa through an E2 lawyer, and it usually takes about 3 months. We would have to invest around $200,000 US dollars into whether it be our own business that we want to start in the US or into another business that an E2 lawyer can offer, whether it's a franchise. And with that, after approval, then the immediate family can then move and live and work in the US. This is particularly attractive because people can send their children to school over there. And you find that there are certain nationalities that this is very attractive to them. And so they do go for that option. Esther, you might have more to add to this too.
Yeah, so I mean, we would obviously refer them to an E2 specialist to assist them with that process. And we have partnered with E2 lawyers in the US who have 100% success rate in their cases. But part of my understanding is that they can invest into an existing business. So there are businesses set up to assist people who would like to invest in those businesses. And once they keep renewing their E2 visa, they would be living and working in the US until they stop renewing the E2 visa, which is a bonus for people who would decide and want to do that.
You know, when I talk to the clients as well, before they decide to move one jurisdiction, we always send them to the tax advisor to get the tax advice. And with you and your program, I wanted to know whether there are any tax implications if someone is getting a citizenship by you, what does it mean from the tax perspective?
A Grenadian citizen would only be liable for taxes if they earn an income in Grenada. So there's no capital gains tax, there's no income on foreign sources of income, there's no inheritance tax. And the tax policy here is if you're earning an income over 36,000, then you pay 10% of the tax on that. And if you're earning over 60,000, you pay 28%
and that's
on that.
Eastern Caribbean dollars.
Yeah.
So only on what's earned in Grenada, not what you earn outside of Grenada.
But if you do an investment and get some return on that, so that would be the amount that you need to think about. Okay. We've got a couple of questions from our listeners, and one of the questions, I think we want to come back to the application itself, and the question is from Vicky. What is the age limit of the siblings that can be included in the application and the cost of it?
There's no age limit as long as the sibling is over 18 years old, not married, and have no children. That's the only requirement. So they can be, there's no maximum age limit.
Okay, and another question, I think is more technical or specific. Once you obtain the Grenadian citizenship and you're about to apply for E2 visa to the US, how do you prove your registered address? Say if someone done the donation option, and they won't have their address.
There is an option where you can have a proof of address service, so you can actually pay to have an address here. For example, you can rent an apartment and have that address and show your nexus close ties with Grenada that you have somewhere here like an address. Most clients do look to do that as an option. I don't know, Heather, have you experienced any other options?
No, that's usually what it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Was the tax, is that a personal tax that you would pay on your return, or would you need to set up a company for yourself and then do the return on the company if you choose to do your own personal investment?
So you can do it either way. It could be just you personally, in which case you will apply for a TIN number. If it was under a business, you would do the same thing, but it is easy to register a business here too, open a bank account if you need to, and then you just do your annual filings. So it's up to you to choose whether you want to do it personally or whether you want to do it under a corporation.
Open bank account. Can you open the bank account without coming to Grenada?
Well, yes, you can. We have done it for clients before, but as you would appreciate, things are always changing. So sometimes the banks will change their regulations. As of now, you can. You just have to make sure you provide certified documents and yeah, but usually it has been a fairly easy process so far. Well, when I say easy, I mean, once they have all the documents that are required by the bank. But yes, they have been able to do it outside of Grenada.
How long you've been dealing with the citizenship, both of you?
Well, I used to work for a company dealing with citizenship about probably, our program started in 2013. So I would say I started working with them in about 2015. And then I decided to go off and do it for myself. So I've been doing this for quite some time. Esther, probably from the beginning.
Not so long. A good couple of years ago, I started with another company and then moved over to do the local agent work.
How is the how do you run the business? Is it office based? Is it from home? Does it reflect on your family and partners? I just want to get a feel, because for me in Caribbean country, to go to the office and spend their day and night is just not visible. I refuse that. That's how lawyers work there and partners. In the UK it's another thing. It's better to be in the office with the air conditioning on. So how does it work for you? What is?
Well, I think the beauty of this sort of industry, and I mean, if COVID can have some positives, it did teach us how to do a lot more online and virtually. So because of that, I spend more time probably working outside of the office, because as you'd appreciate with the different time zones, we have clients that are from China, from Russia, from wherever, India, that are, and so you can't possibly be in the office for 20 hours. So you find that you deal with them sometimes at home. That's the good thing about Esther and I, we're very flexible and we try to put our clients first. And so you are usually available. Thankfully, clients do understand the time difference, but you don't have to physically be in the office for this type of work because it is really online. We do travel quite a bit because you have to be out in the market meeting clients or building your network. So again, that means you cannot be in the office. So this type of work really does lend itself to that. In terms of family, well, for me, my daughter's grown up, so that's great. I don't have to worry too much. And I think you still have a certain amount of flexibility with this because it's not those strict hours of 9 to 5. So I feel like there's still a balance for me to be able to enjoy life. You get to travel, see different places, meet different people, and at the same time deal with clients. So I think it works beautifully for me. Esther, you have a younger child, so
yes, I have an 8-year-old son, so it does mean being very flexible. So I'm very guilty of working on the beach, working at the side of a swimming pool, working while socializing. Once I have internet and a phone, I'm working because, as Heather mentioned, China start their day when our day is finished. So, many times I could be at a restaurant with family and I'm responding, which I quite like. My family understands it, they gets it. So the beauty about the job is once you have internet, you can work basically anywhere. I think the worst one is when I was in the water in the beach and I was responding to clients. So I'm very guilty of that. So yes, I'm not always at the office, but I do have a team and I do have an office there for, various things to deal with applications and stuff like that.
Oh, very interesting. The applications, are they submitted online or do you have to go and physically deliver everything in?
So we do submit everything online. So speaking of COVID, we did have some benefits. We were dying for this electronic system for a very long time. When we got it during COVID, it's been a blessing because clients can just email us all their documents. We would submit it electronically. It's faster. We didn't have to depend on FedEx and DHL for documents to reach us, especially during COVID with major delays and everywhere was on lockdown. We were still able to process applications during that time. Once the application is submitted, the CIU do still require the original certified documents. So they still require the application package. But what I tell my clients to do is once the CIU has gone through the review process, and if they've asked for any additional requests during that time, we ask the client to send us the full package once we know it's approved. And there'll be no more requests. That's to save on courier charges. We then ask them to send us the entire application package. We then put it all together and submit it to the CIU, and they store it in their storage, and they have it at that point.
And we also, what we do with the clients too is we try, this is where when in the beginning and we're helping them gather the documents, we'll send them all the forms and I tend to like Dropbox, but if the client prefers Google Drive or whatever they use, we just try to upload all the documents there. And as they're uploading, we'll check it to make sure that, they have the right things. And so then we're building that online package through a Dropbox type setting. It's very secure. Some clients do prefer, because of the nature of the information they're providing, they do prefer to have some of the more secure sites to transfer documents, which is fine. We try to work according to how they feel comfortable. And then once all that is provided and the file is built electronically, that's what's submitted to the unit. As Esther said, we collect originals after.
Very interesting. Can I also ask, what kind of support do you give clients after they've obtained citizenship? Have you ever worked with families after, and what kind of questions or issues they have that you've helped them with?
So some of them will want to try to establish a nexus. Again, if they feel like they want to go for the E2, they might feel like they need to get an address here. They will open a bank account and that kind of stuff we will help them with. I've actually had clients afterwards come, recently I had a client from China come and live here. She moved her son down here because she just wanted to be here instead of anywhere else. And so I helped her find housing for them to live. She wanted to get her driver's license, her Grenada driver's license. So we assisted her with that process. She got her national ID. So again, I would help her with that. And then just enrolling in school. She had a 5-year-old son. So I was able to help her, because the beauty of us living on the ground here is that we know all the people and all the places that, say, expats or foreign people may be interested in engaging. So that puts us as an advantage to help them. So there are lots of people that do want that. Some of them want telephone services. Again, I've had a number of Chinese clients try to apply for cellular service down here, and we would facilitate that for them. So people want different things. If they want to form a company, we would help them with that. If they need to get a TIN number, they're just different services. Or some of them even actually want to invest in Grenada. Like I had another client that was very interested in our political, like our recent election, and he followed it closely, and he decided that he wanted to help them. So he ended up helping to donate to different funds and different, people have different interests, and it's really good to see when they're able to give back to our country, because as a developing country, we do need help and we welcome it. So it's almost like a twofold process. And we are here to provide advice because, like I said, we live here and we know what the needs are. So when people express that they want to do something, we're here to facilitate it.
It's really interesting because that's pretty much how we work with the clients, and we are also provide. We've got a very posh name for it, business concierge services. So everything what you've just mentioned, that we just help the clients.
Whatever it is. Yeah.
Where we also hold our clients' hand, and because I've established my own company more than 9 years ago, I've built it from the ground up. I feel very passionate about what I do. I love immigration in general, not just to the UK, but overall. And I understand how stressful it is to move your business or your whole family into the new country where the bureaucracy, no one cancelled, is still there. And just to explain that it's nothing personal, you just don't have to pay attention and move forward. I think is really important. That's why we also in the United Kingdom, we would open the company, we will set it up, we would explain to the clients how to run the company, and explain the certain documents and things, like a master list of things that they must do and must register with, just so they're familiar with that. Education, property that they need to rent, and just overall behavior of the nation, because the culture is completely different. Even though London welcomes everyone and anyone, you still need to be able to understand what would work in the particular scenario or circumstances, especially when you talk about your children and the education process. And that's why when I initially started with the law office, slowly we realized that we needed to add accountancy services to give business support to small businesses, startups, to self-employment individuals that planning to maybe see which way to go and which direction to go, and at the same time to provide a service that's not extremely expensive, that doesn't push them away or scare them away. And to the families itself, what we usually do, we organize like small tea parties to put families together, to let them meet each other. Because if I know that my clients got more or less the same age children and maybe similar interests, I try to introduce them straight away. So it's welcoming, it's easier, and everyone is happy. So I'm really glad that you've got very similar approach. Obviously, it's easier for you. You've got nicer weather.
But yeah, I think it's really important because, as you know, when you're working with your clients, you form a relationship with them because you're spending quite a lot of time dealing with them. You know probably the most personal things about them just because the documents that they give you. So there's a relationship that's formed, and we know how difficult it is for people and how overwhelming it is if you're trying to do something in another country and you're not used to it. So we both feel very strongly about making that process easy for clients. And you know, you put yourself in somebody else's shoes and you try to make it, I always want somebody to help me and make it easy for me. So we have that approach with other people too. And like you said, it's really nice to bring families together and they trust you. And I think that's the most important thing to us, is that trust. And we don't want to let our clients down. They matter to us. And so however we can help them, that's really just what it is. And even if we don't know the answers, we find it. We make a way, we tell them, we give them the solution. Even if it is that we don't do it ourselves, we guide them in the right direction. And we don't leave them.
I had a very interesting example to share, where a client obtained her Grenadian citizenship and then during COVID decided, okay, I'm going to leave Ukraine and with my two children, so they were teenagers, and come to Grenada. And obviously she had 2 dogs, which means she couldn't, she got to Martinique, which is another island up the Caribbean island chain, on the airline, but the airline from Martinique would not take her to Grenada with the dogs because of COVID. So she rang me up and she's like, I'm stuck in Martinique. They're going to go on lockdown. How do I get to Grenada? And I was like, I need somebody with a boat. So I contacted somebody who had a yacht, who was able to go up there and get her and the 2 dogs and her children, bring her down to Grenada. It was lots of logistics to figure out, because then you needed PCR tests. You couldn't leave before, and you know, like exiting Grenada, stopping in St. Lucia to fill up gas in the yacht, to then do PCR tests, to then get to Martinique, and then leave Martinique to do the same trip back down. And it was a lot of logistics. It was a migraine, but we got there. We got her here safely with her 2 kids. We assisted with them to get into school. We assisted with them to find a property to stay. Basically everything from where do you shop in a supermarket up until how do you pay your bills, you know, where do you go, get a driving license, her ID card, literally everything. And now she's thinking of opening her own business. So this is another thing where she's going to purchase some land to build up a business, and she's going to start her business there. So, you know, you get various crazy, sometimes some crazy requests, because for me, that was like, I never thought about how to get to Martinique to Grenada without an airplane. And I had to think outside of the box, because this was COVID, and we got her here. So, you know, the requests do come in and we do assist them. We put ourselves in our client's shoes, because I actually felt her pain. And I was like, what if I was stuck in Martinique, which is a French-speaking country, being Ukrainian, can't speak French, you know, what do you do? So I was able to, we had to use Western Union a lot back and forth to get funds as well sent in. So it was a lot of different things to add up. And my main goal there was to get her here safely, so then she can then be here safely with her kids. And, you know, it was a lot of hand holding, but we got there in the end.
Well done. Amazing. Well done. I've got some of the questions coming up, and one of them is TIN number in Grenada. Can you get it, and can you use it, I presume, in other jurisdictions to inform that your tax residency elsewhere?
So yes, you can get it. It's a pretty simple process. You just go, well, we would help them if they need the help, to go to the Inland Revenue Department, which is a branch of the Ministry of Finance in Grenada, and we just do an application. They just need to provide ID, and they are then issued this number. If they are registering as a corporation, then again, it's a similar process. You just apply for it. It doesn't take very long. Then you're issued a number, and then you just make sure you're filing your taxes on as required by the government to do that.
Okay. And another question that I've got, we've got quite a few clients from India, and you mentioned India a couple of times. So if I am an Indian national and entrepreneur, what options do I have in Grenada?
Options in terms of like living here and investing here, or?
I would think maybe business options, opening my, what type of business would I open as an entrepreneur?
Right, so we've had like people, like I said earlier, people looking to see how they can invest in Grenada, what can they do? And in fact, it's interesting that you're mentioning an Indian group, because right now I am working with an Indian group. Like they want to come down here and do something in the medical field. So what we did is I took them to meet. We have a Grenada Industrial Corporation, right, or Development Corporation. So this group it's like the first stop of providing advice on how you set up businesses. They do offer tax incentives. So depending on the level of investment that the person wants to make, they have different brackets. And again, depending on the industry that they're interested in, they do have different, like I said, tax incentives. So that would normally be the first stop. Like the person would express what industry they're interested in investing in based on what their experience is, what access they have to things. And so once we do that, then we can start the process of forming a company and then have them come down here and start doing things. So in the case of the Indian group that I'm dealing with, like I said, they're very connected in the medical field. So what we had done was set up meetings with the various ministers in the field, take them to meet them, understand the actual needs of these areas. So they honed in on what they felt they could bring the most value to. And so now we're in the process of really trying to establish something. And this is really good because it's good for them, it's good for the country. So if they're, whether you're male or female, it doesn't matter so much as much as, if you have the interest and the passion to try and do something here, then we will try to help you and connect you with the right people. But it's a process, because you really do have to spend the time understanding, what our real needs are in the industry you're looking for, and then how you feel like you can fit, it's beneficial to you and to them. But like I said, we do have the right, like we do know the people in the industry, in the various positions that can help give that sort of information. So we help to connect them.
Okay, brilliant. I've got another question that just came in from one of the clients. Unfortunately, they were not able to join the webinar, but they're waiting for our recordings to be released. And we'll send the link to all the participants. I think it's the question that we've answered previously. Can I open a bank account with the Grenadian passport? Is it reliable for living and working in Europe, US? I don't know whether they mean whether they can open a bank account in Europe with Grenadian passport. I think that's not really a question for you unless you've dealt with it or came across with it, because I don't think KYC in Europe is something that we can advise on. But you've answered to the question whether it's possible to open a bank account in Grenada. Yes, we can open. Obviously, if you're trying to open a bank account in Europe and you have confirmation of residency in Europe, you can use Grenadian passport for KYC purposes or to prove who you are for the ID purposes. I don't see the issue with that. And it's up to the bank whether the bank would be asking for all the passports and citizenships that you've got, or it's up to you to tell the bank which category they should allocate you to. For example, if they want to use Grenadian citizenship and passport for identification purposes as a primary document, then as far as I know, with some banks, it goes into a different type of category, risk and all of that. But yeah, source of funds is completely different question. Have you had any clients that used their Grenadian passport and opened foreign bank accounts, like US bank accounts and European? I'm sure you have.
Personally, yes. I've used my Grenadian passport to open a bank account in the UK. My husband has. I've got loads of family members that have. So normally, well, we're talking about couple of years ago now. I don't know what the requirements are currently, but using your Grenadian passport was fine as long as you said, you can show proof of residency, and also sometimes they like a second form of ID. as well.
Mhm.
But yes, there was no issue opening a bank account in the UK. Of course, we're talking about at least 6-7 years ago now. I don't know if things have changed since, but personally, I have experience in doing that, and there's no problem. If you do open a bank account in Grenada and you use the bank account in the UK, I've also had experience of doing that. There's no issue as long as you let the bank in Grenada know you'll be using the card in London, for example, and for how long, just so that whenever you use your card, they don't stop the transactions because of for any fraudulent suspected fraud. And just be aware of the bank charges. But I have done both scenarios. I've had experience of both.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your insight. Ladies, I think we've run out of time, even more than we intended. We stayed online, but it was a real pleasure talking to you, and I think it would be very helpful and useful, our conversation, to the clients of ours and any potential leads that we might have. I would like to thank both of you and Zlata for organizing the event. And unless you want to add anything from your side, I think we will do it again. We'll see and check the feedback that we've had from the webinar today, any questions that we may have, and let's do it again.
Yes, it sounds good. It was really useful for us to understand how things are done in your company as well. And it's nice to know that we're on the same page, where our clients are really our main priority and their well-being. And I think, if they choose to invest in the Grenada citizenship, there's so many people out there that are really happy that they have it. I think it's a solid, good investment for them. We are a stable passport. And, I feel honored that I'm able to carry one of the passports myself. And I hope that we are able to welcome more people into this program.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you, ladies. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Day.
Okay, have a great day.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.